The rain was hammering Los Angeles that Friday night when Caleb accepted the ride request from Isabella V. The pickup address was a private gate in Bel Air, the kind of place where one house costs more than Caleb would ever make in his lifetime. He was 20, driving a 2012 Honda Civic for Uber Black just to pay rent and art school loans. The destination? A cliffside mansion lit up like a movie set. When the gate opened, he drove up the winding driveway and stopped under the massive portico. The back door opened and she stepped in. Isabella Valentina Rossi, 47 years old, founder and CEO of Valentina Beauty Empire, net worth $3.1 billion. She was on every Forbes cover, every red carpet, every most powerful women list. Tonight she wore a simple black trench coat, cinched tight at the waist, wet hair tucked behind one ear, red lips, and those famous hazel eyes that could stop traffic. "You're early," she said, sliding into the leather seat. Her voice was low, smoky, with that faint Italian accent that made everything sound expensive. I try to be," Caleb stammered, suddenly aware his car smelled like cheap pine tree air freshener. She met his eyes in the rearview mirror and smiled. Small, almost shy. "Drive slow tonight, Caleb. I'm not in a hurry." He swallowed hard and pulled away from the mansion. For 10 minutes, neither spoke. Rain drummed on the roof. The city lights blurred past. Then she leaned forward, coat opening just enough to reveal a silk black camisole underneath that hugged every perfect curve. "Tell me something real, something nobody knows." He glanced back. "Like what?" "Anything. A dream, a fear, a secret." He laughed nervously. "I'm saving every dollar to open a tiny art gallery in Venice Beach one day. That's the dream." She studied him in the mirror. "And the fear?" "That I'll be driving Uber when I'm 50 and still haven't made it." Silence. Then she said softly, "I'm terrified I'll die surrounded by people who only love my money." The honesty hit him like a punch. Another 10 minutes passed. She directed him to a private lookout point high in the Hollywood Hills. No address, just turn left after the third bend. He parked facing the entire glowing LA skyline. She got out first. He followed, not sure what else to do. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. She stood at the railing, coat open now, the city painting gold across her skin. "I come here when everything feels fake, when I need to remember I'm still human." Caleb stood a respectful distance away. She glanced back. "Come closer. I don't bite, unless provoked." He stepped beside her. They were shoulder to shoulder, the wind carrying her perfume. Jasmine and something darker. "You're different," she murmured. "You looked at me like I was just a woman, not a brand, not the headline." "Because you are," he said quietly. She turned fully toward him. Raindrops clung into her lashes. "I have a proposition. Tomorrow night, same time, pick me up from the same gate, but this time, don't take me anywhere. Just drive. Anywhere you want. I'll pay whatever surge you need." He opened his mouth to refuse. This was insane, but she was already pulling a black Amex from her coat. "And this," she added, pressing a matte black keycard into his palm, "is for the private elevator at my downtown penthouse, in case you ever want to see the city from the top, with me." Her fingers lingered on his a second too long. Headlights suddenly flashed behind them, a black Range Rover pulling up fast. Her whole body tensed. "That's my security," she whispered. "They tracked the car. Go, now." She stepped back, coat closing like armor. But before she turned, she said the words that changed everything. "Tomorrow, Caleb. Don't make me wait." She walked away in the rain, hips swaying under that trench coat, and disappeared into the Rover. Caleb stood there, holding the keycard, heart racing, city lights spinning. He didn't know it yet, but the richest woman in Los Angeles had just decided a broke Uber driver was the only real thing in her fake world. And tomorrow night, everything would begin.
Saturday, 8:17 p.m. Caleb sat in his freshly washed Civic outside the same Bel Air gate, palms sweating on the steering wheel. He had spent the entire day scrubbing the car, buying a new $29 shirt from Target, and rehearsing what he would say when those gates opened. Nothing felt right. He was about to pick up Isabella Valentina Rossi, the woman who owned half the beauty billboards from Times Square to Tokyo, and he still smelled faintly of McDonald's fries from lunch. The gate slid open on its own. A single text lit his phone. Drive straight to the garage. Door will open. Come alone. He rolled into an underground garage that looked like a Lamborghini showroom. One spot was empty, waiting for him. A private elevator stood open. Mirrored walls, soft gold lights. He stepped inside. The doors closed. No buttons. It knew where to go. 95th floor. The doors parted into the most breathtaking penthouse he had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling glass on 3 sides, downtown LA glittering like a galaxy below. Soft jazz played. Hundreds of candles flickered everywhere. And there she was. Isabella stood in the center of the living room wearing a backless emerald silk gown that clung to every curve like liquid metal. The neckline plunged just enough to make his heart stop. Her hair was down, loose waves reaching her waist. She was barefoot, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "You came," she whispered, voice trembling with something between relief and hunger. "I couldn't stay away." She walked toward him slowly, hips swaying, candlelight dancing on her skin. When she reached him, she offered 1 glass. Their fingers brushed, electricity shot up his arm. "I canceled everything tonight. No assistants, no security inside, no cameras. For the first time in 15 years, this place is really mine, and yours." Caleb took a sip just to steady himself. She watched his lips on the glass and bit her own. "I want to know you, the real you, not the Forbes version of me." He laughed softly. "There's not much to know. I share a 2-bedroom in Koreatown with 3 other guys. My mom still sends care packages. I paint on weekends when I'm not driving." She stepped closer. "Show me." She led him to a corner of the penthouse he hadn't noticed. A blank white wall, professional lighting, an easel, and brand new oil paint still in the box. "I had them delivered this afternoon," she said shyly. "Paint something for me. Anything." He stared at her, stunned. Then he picked up a brush. For the next hour, he painted while she sat on the floor in that emerald silk gown, legs tucked under her, watching every stroke, asking questions, laughing at his stories about crazy Uber passengers. He painted the view from the window, but in the foreground, he added a tiny silhouette of a woman in green looking out at the city. When he finished, he turned the canvas. She gasped. Tears filled her eyes instantly. "You see me," she whispered. She stood, walked straight to him, and, without warning, rested her forehead against his. Her hands came up to cup his face. "Caleb, I'm tired of being untouchable. I'm tired of being alone in a crowd of 1,000 people. Tonight, I just want to be a woman who is wanted for who she is." He swallowed hard. "You are. More than you know." She closed her eyes. A single tear slipped down her cheek. He brushed it away with his thumb. Then she took his hand and led him to the huge white sectional that faced the city. She sat close, so close their thighs touched. "I'm still married on paper," she confessed quietly. "Everyone thinks it's this perfect power couple. He lives in London, has his own life, his own interests. We haven't shared a bed in 8 years." Caleb's heart broke for her. "You deserve someone who never wants to leave your side." She looked at him, eyes shining. Someone like you? He didn't answer with words. He lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles, slow, gentle, reverent. She let out a shaky breath and curled into him, head on his chest, arms around his waist. He wrapped her up completely. They stayed like that for hours, talking in whispers, sharing secrets, laughing, sometimes silent, just listening to each other breathe. Eventually, she led him to the master bedroom, bigger than his entire apartment, with a bed facing the skyline. She slipped off her heels, climbed in, and opened her arms. "Stay," she whispered. "Just hold me. Nothing more. Let me fall asleep knowing I'm safe." Caleb kicked off his shoes, lay beside her fully clothed, and pulled her close. She melted into him, one leg over his, face buried in his neck. Within minutes, her breathing slowed, peaceful, trusting. Caleb stayed awake all night, fingers stroking her hair, promising the universe he would protect this woman forever. At 4:51 a.m., her phone on the nightstand lit up with rapid-fire texts. She woke instantly, body going stiff. The name on the screen made her face go white. Alexander, husband. Landed early. At the penthouse in 20 minutes, we need to talk about the prenup you're trying to break. She sat up, panic flooding her eyes. "He'll ruin you," she cried softly. "He'll ruin everything." Caleb pulled her back into his arms. "Then we face him together. I'm not leaving you. Not tonight. Not ever." She looked at him, terrified, but suddenly fierce. She grabbed her phone, typed fast, and hit send. Then she turned to Caleb, cupped his face, and kissed his cheek softly. "Whatever happens in the next hour," she whispered, "know this. You gave me back my heart, and I'm never giving it to anyone else." Outside, the city kept shining. Inside, two people from different worlds held each other tight, ready to fight for the only thing that felt real.
19 minutes. That's how long they had before Alexander Harper and his security detail would storm the 95th floor. Isabella stood barefoot in the walk-in closet, emerald silk gown still clinging to her curves, fingers flying across her phone. Caleb watched her transform from the soft, vulnerable woman who had fallen asleep in his arms into the ruthless CEO the world feared. "Everything is sent," she said, voice steady now. Offshore accounts, tax evasion proofs, the shell companies he used to hide mistresses, Forbes, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, TMZ, every inbox just received the same folder. If he touches you, the story goes live at 6 a.m. She slipped the phone into a hidden safe, slammed it shut, and turned to Caleb. "I'm done being afraid." The private elevator dinged in the distance. Heavy footsteps echoed down the marble hallway. Isabella took Caleb's hand, squeezed once, and together they walked into the living room. Alexander Harper burst through the double doors like a hurricane, tall, silver-haired, custom Brioni suit, rage in his eyes. 4 bodyguards fanned out behind him. "What the fuck is this?" he roared, glaring at Caleb. "You bring your little Uber toy into my penthouse?" Isabella stepped forward, chin high, every inch the queen. "Your penthouse? Check the deed, Alex. My name only. Always was." Alexander's face twisted. "You think you can humiliate me, walk away with half my—" "You're nothing," she cut in, ice cold. "The prenup is ironclad. You get what you came in with. 0. And in exactly," she glanced at the wall clock, 17 minutes, the world learns why." He took a threatening step. One bodyguard moved. Caleb instinctively moved in front of her. Alexander laughed cruelly. "Oh, look, the broke kid thinks he's a hero." Isabella's hand found Caleb's, fingers locking tight. "He already is," she said, voice ringing clear. "He gave me something you never could.
Love that doesn't come with a price tag. Alexander's smirk faltered. For the first time, he really looked at them, at their joined hands, at the way Isabella leaned into Caleb like he was her gravity. You're throwing away billions for a boy who can't even afford the gas to get here? Isabella smiled, soft and deadly. I'm choosing a man who stayed awake all night just to make sure I felt safe. That's worth more than every dollar you'll ever have. She pulled an envelope from the coffee table and tossed it at Alexander's feet. Divorce papers. Sign them tonight and disappear quietly, or watch your empire burn by breakfast. Alexander stared at the envelope like it was poison. His bodyguards shifted, unsure. The room was silent except for the distant hum of the city, 95 floors below. Finally, he bent down, picked up the pen she had left on the table, and signed with a furious scribble. He threw the papers back at her feet. "You'll regret this," he hissed. Isabella didn't even flinch. "The only thing I regret is the 15 years I wasted pretending with you." Alexander turned to leave, then paused at the door. "You'll be broke in a year," he spat over his shoulder. "Both of you." The doors slammed. The elevator swallowed him and his men. Silence rushed back in. Isabella's legs gave out. Caleb caught her before she hit the floor, pulling her into his arms as the first sob broke free. "It's over," she cried against his chest. "It's really over." He held her tight, rocking gently, kissing the top of her head until the tears slowed. When she finally looked up, her eyes were red but shining. "I meant every word," she whispered. "I choose you, Caleb. All of you. The tiny apartment, the night shifts, the dreams, everything." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "And I choose you, Isabella, the real you. Not the magazines, not the money. Just the woman who fell asleep in my arms, trusting me with her heart." She smiled through the tears, the first real, free smile he had ever seen on her. 6 months later, a small art gallery opened on Abbot Kinney Boulevard in Venice Beach. White walls, string lights, 20 of Caleb's paintings glowing under soft spotlights. Opening night was packed. In the corner hung the very first painting he ever gave her, the LA skyline with the tiny woman in emerald looking out the window. Underneath, a new gold plaque. "To the woman who taught me that love is the only masterpiece worth chasing." Isabella stood beside him that night in a simple white sundress, barefoot again, glowing happier than any red carpet photo ever captured. Reporters asked who the mystery woman was. Caleb just smiled, slipped his arm around her waist, and answered for the first time publicly. "She's my fiancée, and the bravest person I've ever known." Cameras flashed, the internet exploded, but neither of them cared. Because later that night, when the gallery lights went off and the doors locked, they danced alone under the string lights to their song, her head on his chest, his arms around the woman who had given up billions for love and never once looked back. And somewhere high above the city, the penthouse stayed empty, because the queen had finally found her real kingdom. A tiny gallery by the ocean, a beat-up Honda in the parking lot, and the 20-year-old Uber driver who became her forever.